It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of The Last Match, The Big Apple Circus, the film Hello Again, and Strange Interlude. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. And hello again. I am the aforementioned Charles Gross.
And I'm Leslie Hoban Blake. I'm the historian of the Drama Desk, and that was cool, Charlie.
Yes.
So I get to open tonight with a play that we saw that's quite lovely and quite interesting and very well done, and it's called The Last Match. Now, that's my opinion. Charlie may have something else to say about it. It's written by Anna Ziegler. It's directed by someone named Gay Taylor Upchurch, who is new to me, and I would like to see more of her work. It's a very interesting idea. It's two guys working on a tennis match. One of them is the big star, and one of them is trying to get his place. He's a Russian. The other one is an American.
Not just any American, the all-American boy.
All-American boy, which means he may go off and change gender at the end of it. You never know. But in any case, I mean, that'll be the next play that comes up on this.
Right.
But in any case, it's beautifully done. It sets them up. They're antagonistic to one another, and yet they admire each other's skills. They each have wives. The Russian's wife is a pushy...
The Russian has more of a fiancé, actually.
But she's a pushy broad.
Yes, she is.
Yes. And the tennis players, the champ's wife is all supportive, and you know she's been through this so many times.
Well, and also she's a former tennis pro herself.
Yes, which also helps.
What I love about the play is how they just so seamlessly weave the match and their current personal lives and their past personal lives with these
right.
with
and
these
it goes
two
back
women.
And forth, as you say, fluidly.
Plus,
it's
and you know, you're thinking, well, you know, at first you really want to root for the All-American, the aging champion, you know, who's at the end of his career, and then the Russian, he's the up-and-coming. But you know, our tendency would be to root for the American, but well before the play is over, it's a deuce as to which one
as they say,
we want to win.
And what's interesting to me is that there were no there were no real tennis rackets. They indicate that they're serving. They indicate, and they work in tandem. Every now and then, it's choreographed. So they're going together. And, and, you know, because they are. That's it. When you're at that level, you are one. Unless there's something spectacular.
It is kind of a dance.
Yeah. So anyway, it goes on and on and on, and somebody's up and somebody's down, and what is the feeling like? And I thought it was so brilliantly done. Now, we've seen a couple of plays. We saw the one about the roller derby girls. I've forgotten what it was called. It was at the Atlantic, and that was brilliantly
Well, we saw
staged.
one, I forget, at Lincoln Center about boxing.
Yes, we saw the one about boxing.
Right, where similar in a similar vein,
right, it was
you know,
about Jack
none of them
Johnson.
actually hit each other.
It was about Jack Johnson. And I think Rebecca Teichman directed that one too, but I'm not sure, so I shouldn't say that.
You're right.
And
you shouldn't.
I shouldn't. I know. I'm always wrong when I say things like that. And the other thing is that it gives us so much about them without actually doing the what's the word I'm looking for?
Effortless. It's effortless.
No, it's effortless, but there's a word about that when you exposition. You don't get, and then we did so-and-so. Remember when we were there? I remember. You don't need that.
Yes.
You get to know who these guys are right off the bat, and you're right in their lives, and I love that. The actors were really wonderful. It was only a cast of four. Wilson Bethel played the American. Alex Mikiewicz played the Sergei.
That's the Russian?
That's the Russian.
Okay.
Zoe, you can tell by their names. Zoe Winters played Tim's wife, Mallory, and Natalia Payne played Galina, Sergei's girl. Anyway,
it's only the second person I've ever heard who has that name. A close friend of mine is named Galina.
Yeah. Well,
Galia for short.
Yeah, I would see that. Yes. Anyway, so I can't say enough good about this. It never lagged. I mean, it was only 90 minutes, right? But it didn't lag.
It's a fairly light drama.
Yeah.
But it doesn't lag. It's exciting.
But it's about something real. It's about, am I going to win? I got to win. I got to win. It's, you know, for that kind of person.
And both of them have that same attitude.
Oh, yeah. That's who they are. And everything. But they're the kind of men who, if it's not about what they do or what they have, they're nothing. So, you know, if he's not a tennis pro, he isn't anything.
Well, that's the question that the American has to deal with. He knows that he is getting older.
Yes.
It's becoming literally a lot more painful. and then switch it around. The Russian guy, he knows he's got to grab that brass
man,
ring.
I'm going to get you. You
sooner
know,
or-
he's coming.
well, not even I'm going to get you. I have to move up. I have to be better.
Yes.
And this guy just happens to be. If it were the young man, it'd be young man. I'm going to get you.
And the young man is an excellent player.
Yes.
He has
They
very
both- well,
good.
they
He
both
has
are.
you know specific things that are his.
They are both are.
But we know that the pro is. I
Yes.
mean, the champion has to be. But the fact that they're so evenly matched. It's
Right.
not a mismatch. It's not a young upstart. It's a
Well,
real,
both on and off the court in their stories.
Right.
And
Right.
that is what really makes this
yeah.
play so wonderful
It's
and recommended.
I'd
And
recommend
you
it most
will-
highly.
and you will give it-
4.5
Okay.
for
I think-
acting, for staging. I thought it was just
I
beautifully
think I
done.
would go with 4 on
Okay.
this, but certainly an excellent play.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay.
So now we're going to do a movie, and the
no,
reason.
we are not. We are going to the circus.
Sorry, babe.
We
I'm
have
sorry.
lost. We lost 2 amazing circuses in New York. First, the Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. That show literally ran for over 100 years. They called it the greatest show on earth. I remember my parents taking me to it when I was little, and I am so sorry.
You never took the girls.
That I never took no, you know what? I'm even more sorry that I never took myself to see it as an adult.
Really?
My girls, however, grew up with the Big Apple Circus. That's our homegrown,
Right.
one-ring show,
Right.
intimate, not the huge Madison Square
Right.
Garden, not the huge 3 rings. I think maybe they had 1 elephant years ago, but they haven't had elephants.
No, they had dogs and horses this time.
If they ever had an elephant, they haven't had it in like
Right.
30 years. They closed. They're back. It is their 40th
They
anniversary.
were bankrupt, and then somebody bought them,
and they
brought
are
them
back with vengeance.
And their ringmaster was from Ringling Brothers.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was the last ringmaster at Ringling for 5 years. Because where do all these performers go from the Ringling Brothers Circus? I mean, there are only so many places you can be an acrobat, you know.
That's true. And they really put together a top-notch show. They've got Grandma the Clown.
Yeah, she's back.
Back,
And
yeah.
but the little girl that I took to see it, we have a picture of her with Grandma, thought Grandma was a woman. And I said, and she said that to him. She said, "I thought you were a woman." He said, "No, I'm a dad."
Well, he's actually going to be a grandfather
Yes,
if he does the
yeah.
show. But what do they have? A contortionist who shoots arrows with her feet while standing on her hands. A roller skating duo. Trapeze. Yeah, of course you expect trapeze. A quad somersault. High
he missed
wire.
it the night we went. He did it twice and it didn't happen, so he didn't try it again.
Okay,
yeah.
well he successfully did it
But
the
we
night.
went the night before it actually
that
opened.
I
He
was
went
there.
opening night, yeah, so that was probably
7
practice.
people on a high
The
wire.
Walendas. Now they're calling it's Nick Walenda and his wife Esperanza or something.
Right. Well,
But I don't know
a
if
bit more
they're.
than that.
I don't know if all the rest of them are actually Walendas or they're simply calling it the Walendas. I tried to look it up and I couldn't find that. But Nick Walenda lost several family members earlier this year in various accidents and last year, and they've had very bad luck. So I mean, he does. We have pictures of it. You know, the 7 are there's 4 on the bottom, and then there's 2 on the middle, and then there's one.
Yeah.
Then his wife is on the very top. It's amazing.
Yes, it is absolutely amazing. And Grandma and one of the other clowns, we're going to flash his name, he's new, have this water fight.
Yes.
Reminiscent
Yes.
of Three Stooges or
Yes.
Laurel and Hardy pie
Yes.
fight. It is hilarious. It is one of the best clown routines I have ever seen. And let me tell you something.
Yes.
It is so wonderful to see clowns who are funny. Whose idea was it to make clowns scary, to make clowns murderers?
yeah.
Clowns are funny. They entertain you. They make you smile. They don't kill you. And here we have 2 great ones
Right.
at the Big Apple Circus, proving my point.
Proving Gross's point. But here's
Yes.
the thing, you said the thing about never seeing the circus as an adult. I'm sorry I did. Because seeing it through the eyes of a child, it's like, and you can't keep up because it's 3 rings as opposed to the Big Apple, which is 1.
Right.
And suddenly I was a teacher and I was taking kids to the circus. In fact, I took them to the Walk of the Elephants. We used to go down to the see the elephants
Oh, I
come
would
off.
love I never
Yeah,
saw
because
that.
I
would
taught
love
on
to have-
29th Street and they came in on 34th Street. So we would walk up and that was a class trip.
Right.
And they didn't look miserable. They really didn't.
No.
And, however, and they didn't. Nobody mistreated them while they were walking, etc.
No, of course not.
But when I went back to see it with the kids, and I tried to put myself in their position, I couldn't. It had lost its luster for me. Now, I went when they actually had freak shows, Charlie. You probably, maybe they did when you were little, I don't know. They may have gotten rid of them by then.
No.
But they had the people who put pins in their
certainly
faces
Ringling
and the
Brothers
fat lady and, you know.
never had that.
They did. Not when you, maybe.
Not when I was
when I went to
was
Madison
seeing
Square
it.
Garden when it was on 50th Street. So I may be dating myself, yes.
Okay, no, I always saw it at the current Madison. I mean, I
but you're younger
saw
than I am, so.
Lion Tamers. Certainly, they had elephants
Yes,
doing
Lion
tricks.
Tamers, I'd
Lion.
forgotten,
I saw a
right.
motorcycle act. I saw a
Right.
guy getting shot out of a cannon.
Oh, he was the big star for a couple of years.
Yeah,
with the crazy hair, the crazy hairdo. Yeah.
Gunther.
So the point is,
but-
there's an intimacy to this, as you said.
Yes,
It's really
and I took my
close.
daughters there when they were little.
So what did Sarah think of this?
She
one?
loved it. She
Yeah.
had such a good. She was like, almost as giddy as a little girl again.
Well, that's-
to be back, because it had been a couple of years since I've seen the circus, since I've taken them to see it. She had just such a
Check
wonderful
out
time.
what the beautiful Sarah said on a YouTube upload that's on
Yes,
Charlie's.
that's on Two on the Aisle First Impressions.
Yes.
She had
really
a
spoke
great
very
time.
well about
And,
it. I'm worried about my job now.
a circus is a circus, I guess.
No,
but,
I think the circus has a kind of a heart.
But this edition certainly does.
Yeah.
They know it's their 40th anniversary.
Right.
B, they're back.
Right.
And they're so happy to be back. We're so happy to have them back. They still have a live band.
They do. They have
Yeah.
an orchestra. I mean, it's
And
not.
I don't think it's appropriate to give a circus playbills, but I don't think
I think just go and have a good
saying
time.
you won't find a better circus is a little silly because there is no other circus here anymore.
I'm going to say that the way you go to the movies and you bring in your own popcorn, the prices are outrageous. If you want an ice cream, it's $7. If you want a soda, it's $7. I suggest, and they don't mind if you bring your own, I suggest you bring a bottle of soda and a bag of popcorn, because if you
But
want to spend all your money, doing
on
that.
the flip side, considering what ticket prices for events cost,
understand.
these are
Better you
relatively reasonable. And even if you're in the back, you
Yes,
still
you can
have
see
a
from
great.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I had to move because of anyway, but they were very sweet about that. I will say this: buy a program if you want to make an investment. It's $15. You'll remember it through the pictures of all the people in the program, which you won't necessarily remember if you have a souvenir glass, or a souvenir spoon or whatever else they do. And the guys mingle at the end and let you take pictures with them. So we have pictures of Sarah outside the thing, and we
Yes,
have
they
pictures of my
come-
little friend Amaya with Grandma, as I said.
Yes.
So it was quite
Yeah,
fun.
you can meet the performers, which
Absolutely.
I don't know if they've done that in prior years, but it was just so welcome and so much fun. And I am so glad I went, and I am just
well, I'm
so
glad you
glad
kind
they're
of
back.
said let's go, and I went all right. I'm not a big circus person anymore. It's fine. Don't ask me to go again for another 10 years, Shirley. Okay? 10 years from now, I'll be interested.
I'm sure
in
Sarah
seeing
will be
rhythm.
available.
Well, there you go. I told you I have to watch out for my job. So where are we now?
Well, we're at a movie called Hello Again.
And the reason that we're doing a movie is that it's filled with stars from theater, both off-Broadway and on Broadway.
Well, it's also
And it's written by
was an off-Broadway musical.
It was an off-Broadway musical, which I saw, which starred John Dosset and Michelle Plock. I think they met doing that, and then they got married.
This was by the Transit Group Company, who
Yes.
ironically will be talking about their Strange Interlude shortly, or
You
at least
will.
I will.
I didn't get to see it. You will. But yes, and that's true. But it also has Cheyenne Jackson and Audrey McDonald. And no, I have it here. I just can't read it. Rumor Willis, who's not exactly a Broadway star, but Martha Plimpton, who has certainly had her share of theater experience.
Yes.
And the movie is written by Michael John LaChiusa, who wrote the First Lady Suite and the First Daughter Suite and one of the Wild Party things and bunches of other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's put together with all kinds of theatrical acumen, let's put it that way. And it's an interesting take on the Schnitzler La Ronde, where
Which we most recently saw on Broadway as a play called The Blue Room, which starred Nicole Kidman and her tush.
and her tush. As you said, you liked it better than
Oh,
John
much
Davies'
better,
tush
yes.
in Clockwork Orange. And I don't blame you. I can understand
Well,
that.
no, I liked it better. I said I liked it better than the male behinds that we see in this movie ever so briefly.
Oh, in this movie, okay, yes.
Right.
Well, yeah, but and what this is about, and La Ronde was written at the height of sexuality in Vienna in the late 1800s. It really goes back. And there was a French movie which I adored, which was called La Ronde, and it starred all the famous French actors of the time period in the 40s. Fantastic film. And it's about what happens if there's unprotected, continuous sex back and forth. La ronde means you go from this one to this one to this one, and you take something each time, maybe, if you're not lucky, because they're not using protection, these people, or they don't seem to be.
Well, there is a jewel that makes the rounds in various forms. A red, a ruby.
Yes.
It starts off as a bracelet, but then it can be a ring. And here's how it goes. It's like a daisy chain.
Yeah.
A has sex with B. B has sex with C. And then it comes all the way
But
back
this also
around.
goes through time.
Yes.
It has time shifts.
Right. Which makes it confusing because
does.
it's in previous incarnations, it's the same character.
Yeah.
The character from one rendezvous goes on to the next. So A and B, and then B stays. And here they have the same actor or actress playing a similar role
in a different time zone.
In a different time zone, which can make it confusing. But
Well,
you know
it makes it confusing in that the point of the story, which was at that point syphilis, was what they were talking about.
Oh, okay.
And when it was done later on, it was AIDS. You know, and the idea was if you
Well, they've never, Well, that's not.
Warren Light did a takeoff on it.
That's really not what happens here. There's no disease per se. There may be some heartbreak.
Well, there's heartbreak, yes.
But
that's
here's,
the red
even that I could get by. But my problem was basically every scene they had ends up in a fairly graphic sex scene, as graphic as you can have while keeping more or less most of your clothes on.
While singing and
and while singing a tuneful, hummable, but not overly memorable or overly exciting score.
Not Michael John's best score.
In an MTV-directed fashion to an extent. And you've got some good actors. I love Martha Plimpton. I love Audra McDonald. But here, basically, there's no romance. There are no interesting characters. It's just, let's do it.
Yes.
And they do, and they bang, bang, bang away.
Well, the first scene is a soldier, and the last scene is a soldier, but they're different.
No, it's not.
He's not. The last scene is not a soldier. I'm sorry. Okay.
The first scene is actually, it starts in the present with Martha Plimpton going into a sex place and putting a dime in or whatever and talking to a guy working there. And at the end, they come back to that scene. The first scene is a soldier and a prostitute. And then ending up, interesting, Martha in one of her scenes is a senator, and Audra McDonald is an actress who's her would-be lover.
Right.
And, we've had all this Donald Trump impersonators. Well, this one reminded me of the other candidate.
Yes. And not only that, there's a bit of gender fluidity that I know you want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I won't. Let's just say we remember how we talked about it as a daisy chain, coming back to the first person. Because of the way they handle it, you don't necessarily realize what you're coming back to, and so that part is ruined until you see the credits.
Well, for you it was ruined.
For me, it was ruined. But you know what? At that point, pretty much the whole picture had been ruined.
The picture is slow, and that's a dreadful thing to do. It's bad enough when you do slow on stage. When you do slow in the movies, it's like people get up and leave. I mean, it's not a theater, and you're not forced to stay. We watched it on. That's why I'm holding my phone. We had a link to it, so we watched it. It actually doesn't open until 2 days after we do this. Actually, it's next week. It isn't even. It'll open by the time our show comes on.
By the time you see this, the movie will have opened.
The movie will have opened.
And if you've seen it, I'm sorry.
And I don't. Are we going to give stars to it? Or?
Yes.
Okay. I liked the play. I did. I think the play moved faster. I don't remember it going back and forth in time. It might have.
It did not.
Okay. Thank you for that.
It was again the same character.
Yeah, well,
one of the characters moves into the next.
Yes. And
scene.
I like that, and that's the way Schnitzler
it actually took me time to realize that, too.
Right, but that's how Schnitzler wrote it.
Right.
It's not to say that you can't update something, but not if you don't make it better.
Right.
There's no point in updating it just to update it.
And again, lack of romance.
Yeah.
Sex climaxes, then that's it.
Part of it was
romance
because
builds.
there was so much available, that's part of what, it wasn't about romance, it was about sex. Big difference.
Yes,
but it was. The play was. The story was.
But even with sex, and you have to have some romance. You have to care. You either have to care about the characters, or at the very least, you have to enjoy the sex scenes. And did you find?
I didn't mind. They were very artsy fartsy. You know, it was. They didn't really. They didn't turn me on. Let's put it that way. They were not there to do. I don't think that they were.
And they didn't do anything else either, basically, except next. You know, go to the.
Well,
my
yeah,
wife walked out on it. I didn't.
She? Well, that's
I
what I'm
stayed to
saying.
the
It's
bitter
a
end.
movie, so
I will give this 2 playbills, or whatever the film equivalent is, and.
Somebody named Tom Gustafson.
It's
I don't know who that
it's sad
is.
that every time a movie musical comes out, you're thinking, oh, this is the fate
Yeah.
of the movie musical, because they're so rare.
Well,
and unfortunately,
but did you like La La Land? I thought that was so overhyped.
you know what? I haven't seen La La Land yet, so
okay,
that's for another.
All right, okay, but I mean, obviously,
and irrelevant. Even if I like La La Land or I hate La La Land,
but
I'm not going to like or hate this one any better.
That was the one that everybody said, and this will bring back movie musicals. We need to give
well,
it.
it did.
We need to give
Unfortunately,
it our
if this is what it brought back, then maybe you're right. Maybe it was overrated, at least in that respect.
We need to give it our imprimatur, and I would give it. Tom Gustafson is the director. 2.75.
Okay, 2. And they're lucky to get it. All right, now.
See, I didn't see this.
A one-man show. The entire Strange Interlude by Eugene O'Neill. It runs 5 hours. The last time they did it on Broadway with Glenda Jackson, they cut it. They had a full cast, a very good cast, a really good production. They cut it. This production is every minute of the play, with one man, David Greenspan, performing every role. It's one man. You have to be crazy to want to see this. Who would want to be crazy enough to see it? Me! And I am so glad I did. You know, this term can be overused a lot, but this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime theatrical experience. I sat there for 5 hours, 2 10-minute intermissions, 1 30-minute dinner, and I came out. It's exhausting, but exhilarating. Yes, maybe at times during the beginning he lost me. And I had to go to Brooklyn.
See, that's the only reason that I didn't go was the time. It was in different locations. It was not in one specific
so bowled over. But
I know.
Greenspan comes out. He does
I love
all
David
the
Greenspan.
and Strange Interlude. One of the hallmarks of this play is that the actors, they're talking to, and then they suddenly go off on these internal monologues. So I'm talking to Leslie and I'm saying, oh, we must finish this review because we have pizza waiting for us. Oh, and by the way, Leslie, did you know, and so not only does he have to distinguish between all the characters, which he does, but only very, very subtly, but we have to realize when he's not talking to any of them, and he's in his Strange Interlude, and he pulls it
David
off.
plays men, he plays women, he does not change his clothes, he has a
He doesn't
thing,
change his
I don't
clothes.
know what his thing is.
He occasionally changes his stance, his expression. It's just done so subtly.
He did a
Jack
one-man show.
Cunnings III directed it.
Yes, well, he's the head of the Transport Group. And Jack has also directed several of our Drama Desk Award shows. He's a wonderful director. But, I mean, David has a thing where occasionally he'll do something like this and he becomes a little Southern lady. You know, he just does these things. And I missed seeing this. I must say that there was a film of this. I don't know whether it was successful or not. I couldn't find out. But it starred Clark Gable and Norma Shearer. And it had Frank Morgan, who was the original in Oz, the original Oz.
The Wizard.
The Wizard of Oz, yes, thank you. And, you know, so it's fascinating. You can get it on Netflix, I'm sure, if you want to see it, just to compare what it looks like with a bunch of people doing it.
Or if you want a comic version, I think one of the Marx Brothers movies, Groucho starts off on a Strange Interlude riff.
I think I saw that. I think I saw that, yeah.
Riff. I think it's the second one they did. I think it's like Animal Crackers. I'm not 100% sure. So, but
well,
here,
because when it was done, it had never been done before.
Right.
You notice it hasn't been done very much again.
No.
It's like Shakespearean
It's a hard play to do.
But it's like Shakespearean asides, but a contemporary audience isn't used to it.
And the thing is, and we switch. And this is interesting. When they switch scenes, you go to a different room.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I couldn't make it. I just am not up to.
And I must say the chairs were not comfortable.
Yeah, another reason.
But. And you know, it's not a large theater,
and it's not
a large audience. And interestingly, after the first intermission, the guy on my left and the guy on my right had both left.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it was, and I'm thinking, I hope it wasn't something that I did,
I don't,
because I can't imagine what how could they leave this?
Yeah.
The one problem I did have with this show, the last part of it, the final part takes place on a set literally built on top of the other ones, and you're in kind of a mezzanine or a balcony.
Right.
The problem is the other spaces are small and intimate. This is large because not just the place for the set itself, but you're on the top of the whole theater.
So you had sound problems?
So you had sound problems. It's not mic'd.
Yeah.
So he goes 5 hours without being mic'd, and I did have trouble hearing him. But this, again, a unique, amazing, once in a lifetime.
I know we're going to have photos. I
theatrical
doubt that we're
experience.
going to have B-roll, which actually shows him
Well,
doing it.
I
I'm
hope
sorry
somebody,
I hope somebody, yeah.
you know, Transport Theater Group, this is the show you should make a movie out of. Forget Hello
No,
Again.
nobody's going to go to that for 5 hours.
I
Come
guess,
on,
I guess not. Well, they can make it a mini-series on TV, but
Speaking
I
of
guess
going
you're
to
right.
The movies, what are you going to give it?
I'm going to give this 5 playbills.
Wow, you never do
Because-
that.
Well, sometimes I do.
I know.
I'm doing it here.
I was being hyperbolic when I said that. But
And it's just really so.
I'm so pleased that you had such a
amazing.
good time. Now you make me so horribly sad that I never got to go out there, and I will not get to go out there. A friend of mine's on the board and wanted to bring me out
I
early,
am
and
sorry.
I
I am
couldn't
sorry.
go.
I am sorry you missed it. We have a little extra time tonight, so I just want to talk about something new that Leslie and I are trying. It is
Okay.
called Two on the Aisle First Impressions. And this is basically, because sometimes between the time we see the show, the time we tape this show, the time it airs, the time we get it up on YouTube, it can be a space. So what we are going to be doing, what we've actually started doing, is after a show, we're going to come out, we're going to do a very quick synopsis, first impression review on the show.
No playbills, just
And then,
an
of course, we
impression.
will ultimately come back here on Two
Right.
on the Aisle and do a more in-depth
And we're
discussion
talking
on
in
the
front
show.
of people, so we have to keep it, you know.
We're talking in front of people.
we
we're,
have to.
We're,
We have to
we're
keep
using
that
an
down.
iPhone.
Yes.
So,
However, it looks pretty good. I've looked
Yeah.
at it. It's on YouTube.
so
on,
we have a couple of them posted. We have one for the Big Apple Circus. I did
which
one for
stars your
Strange
daughter
Interlude.
with you.
Yes, with
Yes.
my
Again, I have
daughter.
to watch out for my job.
Yeah, we did. We did The Last Match. Leslie and I did not come out too well, but we're,
Well, that was
we're
the
working
first
on
one
that.
that we did together, and
Yeah.
I look like I'm trying out for my Halloween costume.
and we're
But
working
also,
on
please,
that.
Charlie, never shoot me from below.
But-
That's a big thing. You have to shoot me head on.
Yeah. Well, we're working on that.
Yes.
So go on to YouTube. You type in Two on the Aisle, First Impressions. We write it with an F with the first, and we spell
Charlie
everything
will
one
put it down
first.
on the
Yeah.
bottom. It'll be super down there. You
And
can see it
when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us two.
on the aisle.